Good evening. This is the March 25th, 2025, 6 p.m. meeting of the Leominster Conservation Commission. The public is encouraged to follow along with the meeting using the posted agenda. I'd like to ask anyone attending to please silence all of your devices at this moment. My name is Jesse Averka. I'm the conservation agent for the city of Leominster. And before we begin, please allow me to confirm which members are present. Nick Venti.
Present.
Mike Cici.
Here.
Robert Sicard.
Yep.
Rich Golick.
Here.
And Chuck Raymond.
Deal. All right, moving on. Thank you, Jesse. So I have yet to have anybody call me on this, but one of the things we want to do before we start is, if there's anybody here that is not on the agenda but still has some questions or issues with the Conservation Commission, this is the time to bring it up. If you're on the agenda, then we'll get to you. Anybody? No? Okay, moving on then. Super. Under new hearings, I'll go ahead and read this first one into the record. It's a long one, so excuse me. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting for a notice of intent filed by the City of Leominster, represented by Greg
Hockmith.
Hockmuck?
Hockmith.
Hockmith.
Yep.
Really? Oh, okay. Represented by Greg Hockmith, Epsilon Associates, for the proposed improvements to an existing 72-inch corrugated metal pipe, or CMP, that carries Fall Brook under Jachico Drive, which is the sole access roadway to Fall Brook Elementary School and Somerset Middle School. The scope also includes work to restore land underwater, or LUW, by filling in a scour hole and bank at the downstream end of the culvert that were exacerbated during the flooding event of September 2023. Address 25 Jachico Drive, parcel 397-1, and there's no DEP number yet. Oh, hey, yes, sir.
Quick thing, just
Please.
for the record, it says public meeting, technically it's a public hearing.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was just
As I was reading that, I thought the same thing, so. Yeah, Jesse's going forward, if you make sure this is public hearing versus public meeting, because they do carry different connotations.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
We'll be done.
So no DP number, but please make a presentation and just introduce yourselves, please.
Thank you. My name's Maggie Laracy. I'm with Langen Engineering. Also here from Langen is Frank Holmes.
Greg Hockmith, Project Wetland Scientist from Epsilon Associates.
I'm sorry, Maggie, you said you were with
Langen.
Langen, right, okay.
Yep. Thank you. Jesse, could you open
Yes.
the culvert improvements, please?
Yes.
And then scroll to the down. There's a colored plan, please.
Oh, okay.
Yep, there you go, perfect. Okay. So this is the first project we're here to talk about, is the rehabilitation of the culvert below Jachico Drive. It transports Fall Brook from one side of the road to the other. In its current state, the bottom of the culvert is deteriorating, has deteriorated, and is in danger of structurally, is in danger
Collapsing?
of breaking. Yes, collapsing. That's the word I was going for. Thank you.
That can help. Okay, very quick question. Can you tell us what direction you're looking at? I can't make out or
Sure.
the tail is.
So to the left, that is the side that flows by the Fallbrook Elementary School.
So where are the schools? Are they on this?
Goes off to the bottom.
So
Yeah.
Fallbrook is Fallbrook Elementary is planned south left.
Yeah.
Down here?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, sorry.
So in order to kind of mitigate the situation, we're proposing an in situ liner for the culvert, which is it's a liner that's brought by a refrigerated truck. It's placed within the liner and it cures to basically become a new pipe liner.
Inside the existing one?
Inside the existing one. It has a lifespan of at least 50 years, but it's similar to almost a PVC material after it's installed.
Mm-hmm.
So it restores the structural integrity of the culvert and the road. So this has become kind of, you could consider this like an emergency situation because it is the only access to the schools. And if this culvert was to break down, the road was to collapse, it would cause significant impact to the schools.
Can I jump up and say
Please,
something
go
like
ahead.
that? Can we call it urgent instead of emergency? If it was emergency, I would hope this would have been taken care of a year and a half ago.
Sure, urgent.
Thank you.
Urgent, Yep.
It's already correct, but
An urgent situation,
Thank you.
yes. So, in addition to restoring the culvert, after those storms in 2023 that were pretty devastating to your community, there's a scour hole at the end, the downstream end of the culvert, that we're proposing to fill with like a gravel and then install a riprap apron, which is that kind of clouded area over at the end of the culvert. So a riprap apron, we use those to dissipate the flow. You're able to kind of transfer from the artificial culvert to a natural stream bed. And there's kind of a process we went through to design that and make sure it's big enough so that we don't just transfer the issue downstream. So that was taken into account, the watershed flowing into the culvert, and the road that DeChico Drive is an urban collector street. So Mass DOT says that the riprap has to be designed for a 50-year storm. So at its widest end, it is about 46 feet and 42 feet from the end of the culvert to the end of the apron, with a median size of about 20 inches. So it's a pretty significant outlet control structure, but it's designed to really like prevent that scour from happening again. So as you can see, all those outlines are different resource areas, and we've worked with Greg to mitigate the impact to the environmental areas. So I'm gonna let him take it from here.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Obviously, Fallbrook feeds Lake Samoset, and is the riprap area at the outside of the downstream portion of the pipe, is that convex, concave, convex?
Concave, it goes like this.
Concave.
Yeah.
Concave, so that it will maintain the integrity of the Fallbrook?
Yes, yep.
Thanks, Maggie. So Epsilon was hired to delineate the wetland resource areas. We were out there in December 2023, so a few months after the storm. Wetland resource areas out here are pretty easy to identify. Certainly the bank associated with Fallbrook is very obvious and apparent. We delineated mean annual high water associated with Fallbrook, carries a 200-foot riverfront area associated with it. Within the brook itself, there's land underwater and obviously bank. And we also had BVW, which is shown in the green line.
could you please, if you don't mind, spell out all your
Oh, sure.
acronyms for
Yep.
the audience?
Yep, land underwater associated with Fallbrook and bordering vegetated wetlands. In this case, the water body was Fallbrook, and we had vegetated wetlands that border on Fallbrook.
And the green is BVW?
Yep, green's
Okay.
the BVW.
Okay.
Plan north, you can see there's 2 temporary stockpile locations. We selected those areas because...
Is that this?
Yep,
Okay.
yeah, we selected those areas because they're in one of the existing multi-purpose ball fields on the property. It just made sense to stockpile materials where we wouldn't need to do any additional clearing. As Maggie pointed out, this liner comes on a truck. It's refrigerated. It's very large and heavy. They need to drop that down on, I believe they're gonna go on the upstream side of the culvert, and that will be pulled through the culvert with essentially a cable system. But we need a crane to lower it. And that's why you see there's a shaded rectangle, I'm sorry, a shaded square.
Right there.
Yep, thank you. That would be the temporary pad for the crane that would lower the liner in place. And that hatched area to the left of that box, that's an area that's currently vegetated that we do anticipate some alteration just as a result of the lowering and work to do this. So we're considering that temporary alteration, which would be restored in place following the installation effort, if vegetation is in fact altered. We're assuming it will be.
Can I ask, what kind of vegetation is that?
Yeah, so
Right
it's
now.
it's really scrubby growth. I'm guessing at one point in time, it was a clear path right down to the brook, based on what we saw. It's starting to fill in with some good native species as you move upstream. There's a lot of staghorn sumac and speckled alder. We're proposing to stabilize that area with the New England wet mix and speckled alder. On the downstream side, it's difficult to propose vegetation in the riprap. So we do have some permanent impact to BVW as a result of this project that we're proposing to replicate. And it's 769 square feet temporary BVW alteration, 939 square feet of permanent BVW alteration. And that's to install that riprap apron. We are proposing to replicate wetlands, which you see plan left below that furthest stockpile area. There's an area below the existing ball field that could benefit with some enhancements, which is why we targeted that area. We're proposing to lower the grade slightly to get adequate hydrology. Because we didn't anticipate wetland impacts during the design, we weren't able to do test pits to establish seasonal high groundwater, but we did incorporate a protocol into our restoration plan that would require test pits early on to establish where seasonal high is to see if we do have to adjust any of the grades. We don't expect that's going to be the case. It's very wet. It's almost a wetland already. But we are lowering the grade there and cutting into the slope, which is why you see some finished contours going up on the plan. And that would be a 3-to-1 slope coming up from the wetland replication area that would also.
And just to be sure, so folks, he's talking about this area right here.
And we're proposing erosion controls above and below, below to protect the down gradient resource areas and above to protect the replication area once it's constructed. And that was designed in accordance with the new updated inland wetland replication guidance document that came out in 2022. And it would carry a 2-year monitoring protocol just to ensure that it's successful. We do fully expect the riprap apron in the areas that are land underwater to eventually fill in with sediment and not look so riprappy after a year or two.
How big cobble are we talking here?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Do you know
So,
offhand?
yeah, so the
Yeah.
median size is like 20 inches, so that's like the middle. And it could be bigger, it could be smaller.
So we're talking some big rocks here.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Okay.
first question I asked is this: you guys have to prove to me that this thing isn't gonna wash downstream, and they did, and it was designed in accordance with certain parameters.
Okay.
Just as Maggie said, to make sure this doesn't end up further downstream. Because the project we're gonna talk about next is a result of, again, that flooding event, we think, made it worse, but it exposed some sewer pipes downstream.
Right.
We don't want anything with potential erosive velocities carrying anything downstream that could jeopardize any of the down gradient resource areas.
So very quickly, so the other one you mentioned, that's downstream of this?
It is,
Okay.
yeah, not too far from the bottom of the plan that you see there.
We wouldn't go into too much detail, I just want to make sure that we had that in mind, okay.
So in our notice of intent, we called some of this restoration, because in our mind, we are restoring land underwater, we are restoring bank, but we did have permanent impacts to BVW, and that's why we are replicating 1-to-1. The bank is gonna look a little different at the outlet. It's gonna be more boulder stone lined than what's there now. What's there now is really crumbly earth that I think, again, was exasperated during that flooding event and just really hollowed out. This area is mapped as priority and estimated habitat for rare species. So early on, the client contracted with Oxbow Associates, and Scott Smyers Outfits submitted a MESA checklist to natural, MESA is Massachusetts Endangered Species Act, and the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program is tasked with enforcing MESA in Massachusetts. So the MESA checklist was submitted to Natural Heritage. It's mapped for wood turtle, in case anybody didn't know. It's a protected species in Massachusetts. It received a conditional no-take letter from Natural Heritage, which we included in the notice of intent.
And can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so essentially when you have an area that's mapped as priority or estimated habitat for rare species, the intent is to prove that your project isn't gonna be deemed to take on that species or that species habitat.
By take, that's a euphemism for kill.
Yes, yeah, or alter the landscape such that that species is no longer gonna utilize the
Right.
area. And in this case, what Natural Heritage said is, okay, we see the project, we think this can be conditioned so that it won't be deemed to take for the wood turtle. but you're gonna have to do X, Y, and Z. And in this case, X, Y, and Z was to have Oxbow prepare a turtle protection plan, which they did, which spells out how the species will be protected during the project. And as long as that turtle protection plan is followed, Natural Heritage deems it a no-take.
Okay.
In this case, a conditional no-take. So.
In other words, this project will not result in any taking of the species?
Correct.
Gotcha, okay.
Correct. And to ensure that, Oxbow is going to be heavily involved during the construction effort with monitoring and any adjustments that may need to be implemented during the life of the project.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with Oxbow, but they're the best. We always work with them. They're familiar with the wood turtle and well respected by Natural Heritage.
Well, you saved me a question to ask at the end of the thing, so that's good.
So it's, hopefully it's gonna be a pretty quick project. The curing takes up to 10 hours, but again, that's not that long. Fallbrook is perennial, so we have to assume it's gonna be flowing. Although I have heard that when things really dry out, that it ceases to flow in certain reaches. But we're assuming there will be water, which is why we're proposing to set up a temporary dam in Fallbrook so we can dewater the work zone during the construction effort. And essentially that would be a pump put in the channel, pumping water around, and then discharging on the other side of the proposed riprap apron. We are proposing turbidity barriers. They don't work great in streams. They work better in lake and pond applications. But if done properly, the water being pumped will be clean, discharging around into another clean section of the brook. So it should all be clean.
What do you mean by clean?
Lacking, not turbid, not carrying sediment. It'll
Okay.
just be essentially the same water that's flowing upgrade into a temporary dam.
Okay.
It isn't, oh, yeah, go ahead.
So during construction, is the riprap gonna go in first, so when you start that pumping, the water will discharge into the riprap area?
No, the water is gonna discharge after the riprap area, just in case we can install that first.
Okay.
Yeah, my guess is the liner will go in, well, do you guys know the phasing of this yet, or is it gonna be?
I would kind of assume the liner would be first, just so that we get, because the first thing they do is they camera the pipe and make sure there's no cracks that they need to fill or anything before the liner goes to make sure it adheres well. So that's the first thing they'll do. They'll kind of clean it, and they're gonna need, they attach like almost like a pulley system to a nearby tree or truck or something, and then they kind of pull that through. So I think that the riprap might kind of get in the way if they install that first.
So they're gonna pull it, they're gonna start at the upstream section, pull it through
Yes.
downstream? Okay.
Yeah, and then they seal both ends, and it's either hot water or steam that they use to cure it. Yeah, I had to go online and watch a video. I've never actually seen this happen before, but it's a pretty slick option when you don't want to fully replace a culvert.
Okay, just go back to that when you're done. I want to get back to that.
Yeah. That's pretty much all I had.
When will this start, Greg?
Well, that's a very good question, and you're probably wondering why we did two separate notice of intents. I do know they want to get the sewer going sooner than later.
Okay.
Have that in
Yeah,
place before the school's open.
We'll get to that. Okay. All right.
Ideally, I
Do you-
think they wanted to do it this summer.
Okay.
Okay, so I know the turtles hatch in June, more than likely. We wouldn't want to give them a steam bath or anything.
No, and Scott wouldn't let us.
So part of the protection plan is that they'll come out before, before construction's to start. They'll evaluate the area, make sure there's no turtles.
I'm sorry, who's they?
Oxbow, sorry.
Okay.
Also, you're right, that is their active season in the summer, but in the winter, they're more likely to be within the stream bed. So it's almost, there's a better chance of catching them if we do it in the summer, because they'll be active, not where we might be
I
placing
understand.
the stones.
Okay. Well, I feel that Oxbow's going to be that involved with it throughout the project, so good.
All right. You guys all set?
Yes.
All right. I just have a, like I said, you beat me to the punch with one of the questions about the endangered species program. One of my questions is related to that, though. Based on some work I've been doing recently, so you get, and this is one of the reasons why I asked about the size of the cobble. So we got some big rocks that are getting tossed in there. What does Oxbow or even Epsilon, what are your concerns about how wildlife will be able to transit across these huge rocks? Are the rocks themselves going to be a barrier to that's species and fish, turtles, and salmon, and anything else trying to use that waterway? Now they got these immense rocks there. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about 43 feet from the end of the culvert to the end of the riprap apron. So even if it was a temporary barrier or impediment, they could easily go around.
I'm sorry, so 43 feet from what? From there to here?
Yeah, yep.
So my concern is that, so that they're in the Fall Brook, and now they've got this area here with all these rocks.
Yeah, when there's water in the brook, they'll be able to get through, no problem. And
Okay.
this will increase the ability for fish to get up and downstream than what currently exists. Is a bit of a step.
Oh, is there now? I'm
There-
not sure what the exact conditions now.
There is, and it would get worse. I don't expect, well, I do expect this to carry substantial storms in the future.
Yeah. Mhm.
So this was designed to make sure that doesn't step, and that rock stays in place so that fish can get up and down.
Okay. Now, is that something that Oxbow weighed in on at all?
No, they did talk a little bit about the scour hole and how, where that's fairly new. If that was an older scour hole, that's potentially an area that the turtles could start to utilize because it's a deeper pool within the brook itself.
Mhm.
But no, they didn't have any concerns with the plan as currently designed.
Okay. All right, that sounds one of the questions. My other question is, I know there seems to be a pretty good effort statewide, maybe even farther wide, about replacing culverts with things that are quote unquote a little more natural, not only able to carry larger storm loads, but also are more connected and more conducive to wildlife transit and use. Was there at all any thoughts about putting in some kind of a box culvert or anything here other than just relining an existing pipe?
There was, it really comes down to being able to access the school. This was the quickest way to fix the deteriorating pipe,
Okay.
so, and least expensive, but that's really what it comes down to, is the access to the schools.
Just not to put a wrench in the works, but the work could have been done probably will be done in the summer. There's not much traffic in the summer to temporarily excavate it out and put a culvert in. But understood. I just want to make sure I asked that question. Anybody else? Thoughts, questions, comments?
I got a
Nick?
couple questions. One, that plan for the sensitive species there, do we get to see that? I know you included the letter from Mass Wildlife, it was Mass Wildlife
Yep.
in the NOI, but we didn't see any plan from Oxbow in that NOI.
Yeah,
Did you get anything, Jesse? Or?
No, I don't, was that in the NOI submittal? I don't think that there was any
no,
Oxbow in there.
it wasn't, but I'm sure if you request it,
Yeah,
it'll end up in your file, and
Yeah,
once
that'd be
it's
an
in
easy
there,
thing
it's
for me to get
public
my hands
information,
on.
certainly the
Yeah.
commission will.
yeah. We'll have to wait for the DEP number either way, so we can
Okay.
definitely get our hands on that
So
by the
we
next
will
meeting.
see that at some point.
Yeah.
Okay, that's,
Yeah, I saw it, so it does exist.
it does exist,
Yeah,
all right,
it's real.
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that letter was dated like last month.
There's a lot of good info in there, it's very thorough. They did a site assessment, it wasn't just a cookie cutter turtle protection plan for all sites, they tailored it to this site.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think they spent a day or two out there looking
Yeah.
around, so.
Yeah, my second question.
The NOI they mentioned is a notice of intent, which is what somebody brings to this commission for approval to do an action nearby one of the wetland resource areas. Again, back to the acronym.
Thank you, yeah.
Thanks, Rich, sorry about that.
Yeah, no trouble.
Sorry not to introduce
We
the
have
acronym.
audience tonight.
One likes unintroduced acronyms. The second question I had was, for that pumping proposal to Would you then have to close the road to pump the water over the?
No, they protect the pipe, they probably line it with sandbags and then put a steel plate over the top of the sandbags just to protect the pipe.
So even for that, you don't have to close the road? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll probably end up putting a sump in instead of just having the pump sitting in the channel. We'll dig out a
Okay.
small area,
Okay.
line it with stone, that'll just help keep it even cleaner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else? My commission. Bob?
Yeah, I appreciate your effort, and it looks like a good plan, you got some good people working for you. The only concern that I see, this has to be done, I understand that, along with the other project too, but the only trouble that I usually have is fuel danger. And I wonder if you can elaborate, if you know what kind of containment there will be, because you'll be having to refuel the crane and the pumps and things like that, and it's a very sensitive area, and that fuel, even a little spill can carry on. Is there any plans that you have for protecting that, or doing that correctly?
Well, the crane will only be here for a very short time, just to place it.
Oh, so that probably won't be refueled.
No, and then also, I think we wouldn't, usually that's not allowed within these areas, refueling.
Yeah, we can, I think if there's a condition that says no fueling within jurisdictional areas, that would include the 200-foot riverfront area,
Just to make sure that that's on.
and that spill kits be on site.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best we can do.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to hear.
There's spill control
That
That
mentioned
wouldn't be
in our
SOP?
special
That wouldn't be
conditions.
standard?
It should be,
Well,
but sometimes
I was gonna ask why
it helps to
SPCC.
get it in there too, so somebody can't say they didn't know.
Yeah.
Did you folks have an SPC, spill prevention and control and countermeasure plan associated with this project? That might cover something like that?
We didn't include one
Mhm.
in our application, but it's
But chances
common.
are, projects like this, typically there's an SPCC associated with it anyway.
No
Yeah.
storage tanks, no storage.
Or what to do when there's a spill. You need to have certain things with you.
Yeah, we didn't include one in our application, but, you know, the contractor may have one, and certainly if he's required to have one.
I would like to probably add that as a special condition, that, and we don't need to see it, I've seen SBCCs before, and that they're kind of straightforward, but if there could be an SBCC associated with this, again, simply because of not just the wetlands, but the endangered species.
Sure.
So SBCC plan, and what was the other one that we just talked about to add?
Refueling.
Refuel, thank you, no
And
refueling.
spill
Yes,
kits.
thank you.
Thank you.
That, no refueling, I believe, is already part of the special conditions that we would likely add to this.
Okay, okay.
Our standard
right.
special conditions.
Commission.
Which effectively takes care of the SBCC if there's no refueling.
Good point, good point.
Other than if a tank breaks or
Tank break,
something,
yeah.
yes. You know, in that rare case. We
Anybody
should
else?
remember, there's still traffic going by here all the time.
Correct.
Just like on Route 2,
That's obviously, yeah.
near No Town Reservoir,
Yeah.
when we talked about one
Yeah.
previously.
Yeah, exactly.
Hundreds of
Everybody-
cars a day. Hundreds of
Thousands.
buses.
Yeah.
Everybody on the commission all set?
Yep.
Okay.
Actually, can I, one more
Yeah,
quickly.
sure.
At the risk of going beyond the scope of the commission's purview here.
Yeah, be careful, I don't want to step my bounds.
No, I'm just curious, because I expected, the sewer replacement I expected, the culvert came as a surprise to me, the culvert replacement. How did this come about, actually? What was the process by which this was
This
proposed?
is before my time.
I could maybe speak to that.
Introduce yourself, please.
Okay.
So I'm Frank Holmes with Langen Engineering,
Okay.
and so we've been involved with the school project, and through the school project,
What do you mean the school project?
the Fallbrook Elementary School, it's under study right now for.
Oh, fair
so
enough,
it's not-
okay.
There's no construction plan
Fair
right now. And so in our discussions with, folks from the DPW, we learned they had an issue with the sewer that
Yeah.
is urgent, that needs to be repaired, but also the culvert, right? As a result of the storm, there was concern, with the scour hole at the end of the culvert, but also just looking in the culvert itself, it's corrugated
It's
metal,
irrigated, yeah.
and the bottom of it is a lot of it that's rusted out, there are pieces missing, and so the DPW folks have known that, something really needed to be done to repair and improve that culvert just
before you.
So it came about as a result of other work and studies going on at the site itself?
Correct.
Okay.
Thanks.
You all set, Nick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask one more question?
You may?
Is there a head wall on the culvert?
There is, I think we had a picture, I might have a picture for you.
I can get on there and take a look. I just wanted to know, is that gonna be replaced, or is that,
Doesn't look like it's part of this, no.
that's what
Well,
I.
actually, it looks like it's just, it doesn't look like much of a head wall.
It's just smooth over.
Yeah, most of the vegetation and boulders.
I don't think there is one.
Yeah, I didn't think there was one either, and that's
the
why I
only-
thought it'd be.
Not a very good picture, but.
I was wondering why there wouldn't be one on there because of the scouring problem.
That's,
You
All right.
can walk right through it.
that's the
Yes,
outlet
sir.
cove, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Yeah. No, he's asking about the inlet.
Oh,
There's, I don't think there's any.
It's just boulders,
Yeah.
yeah, boulders and earth.
Okay.
It was
Rich, you had
mentioned
something?
to us at a meeting a few months back related to a culvert going across the residence, I think it was on North Street.
Mm-hmm.
And the city has a list of culverts to work on that's prioritized. That one did not make the list,
No, it did not.
apparently.
Yeah,
This one obviously did, so that's all.
yeah. Okay. All right, Commission all set? All right, super. Anybody from the audience have any thoughts, questions, comments? Yes, ma'am, please introduce yourself.
Hi, Susan MacArthur. I,
Yeah, I'm sorry, address too, please?
I'm 57 Eaton Road, Framingham.
Thank you. So what's your concern here, being from
Oh.
Framingham?
Oh, I'm for another project, but I was just curious.
Oh, okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there is FEMA designated floodway or flood zone associated with Ballpark.
So there's bordering land subject to flooding out here, it's a zone, well, similar to a zone AE, there was a study done. It's shown on here, but it kind of gets lost in the line work. We had some temporary alteration to BLSF where the wetland replication area is going, but we're not proposing any filling of BLSF. If anything, we're getting a slight increase in flood storage. But it's not a floodway.
Okay,
Yep, yep.
thank you.
Answer your question?
Yep.
Okay. Anybody else? Thoughts, comments, questions? No? Okay. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Claire Frieda, Leominster City Council. I know this has been a problem for a long time in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And with the flooding, it has been pretty severely affected exacerbated by the floods in September. So, I think it's gotta be fixed before the school project even approaches, and that's gonna be coming shortly down the road.
Okay.
So, I don't know what your feelings are on it, and that's what I'm here to hear.
Mhm.
But I do know that this has been a problem for quite some time.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, I appreciate that. Yeah, we're not gonna take any action tonight, we don't have a DEP number yet, so we're not gonna close and take a vote on this. So in anticipation of DEP number, and also to get any comments from DEP, assuming they respond soon, are you okay with continuing this until our next meeting, which is, what's the date for the next meeting?
April 8th.
April 8th. Will
Yes.
April 8th work? And if there's no number yet, then we'll just
Yep.
continue leapfrogging it. All right. So then I'll entertain a motion then to continue the hearing in anticipation of a DEP number and their comments until our next meeting on April 8th, 2025. So I'll entertain that motion. Thank you, Michael. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Nick.
All right, for the roll call, Robert,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
Chuck,
Aye.
unanimous.
Thank you.
You bet. Good luck. I mean, getting a number, I mean. And comments.
If it's been like the last, it should be soon, they're kind of following like an around 3-week trend right now, so.
All right.
Should be.
We'll shake the trees a little bit if we have to.
Yeah, never hurts.
Call Poopy, you know.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you, folks.
Thank
Oh,
you.
and you're staying for the
Yeah.
next one?
We're not done
Why
yet.
why aren't they
You're
leaving?
fast. They wrap it up.
They seem intent on staying. Okay, all right, moving on then. I'll read the second one's a little shorter. Read that into the record. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, The Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing for a notice of intent filed by the City of Leominster, represented by Greg Hockmuth.
Got it.
Super. Epsilon Associates for the proposed improvements to realign portions of the sanitary sewer on the property. Address 25 to Chico Drive, parcel 397-1, and still no DEP number. So, question, so is this a continuation of what we were hearing last year about the sewer line? And the last I recall, certainly help, please correct me if I'm wrong here, basically, we're waiting for Oxbow to go in and map the wood turtle habitat. That was, so I'll let you continue on from there.
Yep, so it is similar to what you heard last year.
Okay.
Do you mind if I go up and just point?
No,
Okay,
help yourself.
because I don't want you to have to point for me.
Okay.
So originally.
You know what might be helpful? If you can get a laser pointer, so people over there can just.
That'd be really
point.
nice. That's
See
a good
see if-
idea.
See if the city
Yeah.
can buy us one of those. That'd be fun.
It's a tight budget, but I think we can make it
All
right.
right.
All
Get
right,
us
so
all laser glasses.
3D.
right now, so this is oriented differently than the
Yeah.
other plan. So this is Fallbrook Elementary School up here, and then Samoset is like up in that direction. So
Okay.
the sewer from Samoset Middle School comes down here, and Fallbrook Elementary comes down here. So they cross this Fallbrook right here and connect into this sewer main that kind of runs parallel
On the other side of Fallbrook.
on the other
Okay.
side. So in that flooding event, these became exposed. So right now, if you were to walk down here, you can see these pipes. So last year, when you got a proposal, it was, they were going to run the sewer line along the brook, which we came up with, I think, a better plan, to catch the Fallbrook, or divert the sewer from this manhole here, run it along, across the Chico Drive here, along this area, pick up the Samoset line here, run it over to this location and down to this existing manhole in the main. And that way it's less direct impact to the wetland, and it no longer will cross the brook at all. This manhole is on the other side of it.
On the other side of the one you were gonna go to.
Right,
Right.
so this is here, so these lines cross. This doesn't have to, because the brook flows down here, so this is on the other side of the brook. Doesn't have to go through the stream.
Okay.
What else was I gonna say? The existing sewer, we're proposing to saw cut on each side of the bank and remove by hand within the stream. And then put flowable fill in the existing pipes and abandon them in place. And I know we talked about a lot of why we were doing, why the culvert project, the access to the school, but right now, we're gonna propose to be able to continue access to the Samoset while this is going on by driving up and around this access road and putting kind of a temporary pavement patch so that emergency vehicles could get up there.
Okay.
To prevent having to go into this area when, in the future, when the new school is built, we're stubbing the sewer up into the road to get it out of the resource areas, so that we can connect there, and not have to dig up the wetlands again. So I'll turn it over to Greg. So we're going through this area. This is all temporary impact, but I'll kind of let him describe that. I'll stay up here in case I have to point.
All right, great.
And I'm sorry, before you start going, Rick, so how much of this pipeline, how much of that is new? Virtually all of it?
Yes, so this entire, what's shown in the dark is new.
Okay, so it's all new, so you don't have to cross the stream?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And it's tying into an existing sewer line
Yes.
down here?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Okay, all right, sorry, Greg, go ahead.
Sure, so it's probably easier to talk about what we're getting rid of first.
Okay.
And that's closest to Maggie. There's 2 clay pipes. Clay pipes don't last forever.
Oh, the clay, wow.
Yeah, one's a 6, one's an 8. So those are gonna get cut, capped, and be removed by hand.
And those go under the stream right now?
They did.
They did.
Now you can
they're
see them.
exposed.
Yeah.
Bingo, okay.
It's an urgent situation.
Yeah, maybe, what's the next step above urgent? It might
Critical?
dire. be, it's dire.
Very urgent.
It's
Still not an
Very
emergency.
Let me get my thesaurus out, I'll find it for
Very
you.
urgent.
So that, they'll be capped, filled with flowable fill. We are proposing some temporary impact to bank to remove those pipes.
If you could just define flowable fill, please.
Yep, you wanna take that one, Maggie?
Flowable fill is basically like lean concrete,
Okay.
so it's concrete that has more water in it than normal, just so that it's easy to flow.
Okay,
Like a slurry.
okay, yeah. Bentonite kind of thing, but without the other stuff in, okay.
So we are gonna have some temporary impact to bank, but it's being done by hand, so we fully expect, in our narrative, we described putting down a tarp and stockpiling bank materials that will be altered on the tarp, removing the pipe, and then just restoring the bank under the direction of a PWS, just to provide some
PWS.
professional wetland scientists.
Thank you.
I
Just to
think it's a
provide,
public water system, so.
yep, just to provide some oversight and make sure it's done correctly.
Okay.
The bank,
And this, so wetland scientist is of your employer?
or it could be any professional wetland scientist, but it
Okay.
could be somebody from Epsilon Shore. But the bank in that location on both sides, it's mainly dirt, mainly organics. It's not boulders and rock like further upper in the upper reaches. So easy to reconstruct.
Okay.
We did propose some temporary impact to land underwater as well, just because we will be standing in the brook while these pipe sections are removed. But that, we don't anticipate the need to really do any restoration. It will just rebalance itself out when the people leave the channel. So that's the easiest part, removing that section. The realignment does propose to cut across pavement and then hug the shoulder of the current driveway. And really the reason for that was twofold: to keep the structures out of the paved surface, but to also keep them further away from the resource areas, as far away from the resource areas as we can without going into the road. So we're gonna be right along the shoulder. Most of that shoulder, it's grass, it's not woods right to the curb. So there is a little bit of clearing that may need to be done to install those structures, but not taking down mature trees and clearing forested riverfront area. That structure that you see in the bottom left of the plan, that everything's getting tied into, that's an existing sewer manhole. So it just made sense to core a new hole into that and then tie the new sewer line, which will be PVC, into that sewer. And I think along the way, there's a drop manhole and probably 4 or 5 other manholes that the pipe will go into just to make those bends. But it does drop off. You can see on the plan, you see those tight dashed lines, those are contours. So there's a pretty steep hill there.
Yeah.
And to allow future access to the furthest manhole for maintenance and to that drop manhole that you see not too far down in that shaded rectangle, we are proposing to keep a 7-foot wide, I don't even want to call it an access path. It'll just be a 7-foot wide area in the woods that you could access the structures to if you had to. Put down plywood, get down there with a mini excavator. It's still gonna be wetlands. It's just not gonna have any mature trees for 7 feet wide.
So, I'll just interrupt you. So when I met with the DPW, they did say that their truck, their vacuum truck, that if they're, for regular maintenance, and unless there was a situation where they had to get down here, they can run their hose all the way down, so they won't have to drive down there for a regular.
And 146 linear feet, is that what that says?
Yep.
So we are proposing in situ restoration. We're calling it temporary impact to BVW. We're proposing to stockpile excavated surface materials adjacent to the trench. Once the new pipe is installed, it'll be backfilled, and then that soil material will be put back on top. There should still be enough seed bank in there, but if not, we are proposing New England wet mix or approved equal, and to put in, I think it's 6 3-inch caliper red maples and half a dozen or so shrubs too, just to revegetate that area with some native overstory and shrubs. So temporary BVW alteration. That blue line that you see, those blue lines, that's the bordering land subject to flooding. That's the mapped floodplain. Because it's within the BVW and the section that we're altering, we didn't include that as BLSF, bordering land subject to flooding impact. But again, we're not proposing to fill any floodplain here. We're proposing to match pre-construction grades. But we will have some activity within the mapped floodplain. But, you know, getting the sewer, avoiding the need to cross Fall Brook just makes sense. Replacing clay pipes just makes sense. And then trying to get down to the existing sewer with the least amount of impact as possible is what we tried to do, and that's what we're proposing.
That is what you're proposing.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah, one question first, hold on. You guys all set?
Yep.
Okay, and going against my own advice here, I'm gonna ask a question that's out of the scope of this project. I apologize, it'll be very quick. So, obviously, this project is to keep us from having to cross the stream. Has anybody, so obviously, this existing pipe goes across the stream here. Do we know at all what the condition of that pipe is? Is that even? And if you don't know, that's perfectly fine. Oh, then don't worry about it, I just, okay. It'd be kind of good to know, but if you didn't look at it, then that's perfectly fine. Sorry, Michael, go ahead.
That was exactly what I was gonna ask, because I assume everything is flowing from left to right, correct? Everything?
Well, right to
everything coming
left.
out of the school
I think it goes down.
It goes that way?
Well, yeah, they get the arrows here.
Downhill is left. Left is down.
No, I was watching, what's in the pipe? Which way?
Yeah.
From right to left.
Right to
Yeah,
left?
goes down that way.
Okay, so the V there, that's being taken out, correct?
Mhm.
I was asking the same thing, is this all clay pipe too, and is that, if that's fact, do we?
Yeah, but that was beyond the scope of this, and they just don't know, so.
Okay.
Anyway, moving on. Anybody else in the commission, thoughts, questions, comments?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I did
Oh,
want to
please.
also point out,
DPW and try to get you an
this
answer.
also requires conditional no-take from Natural Heritage, which it received, and the same turtle protection plan will be in place for this project.
So in other words, this is deemed a no-take project based on the conditions that you're meeting. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, all righty. So we'll, as part of this project, will Oxbow be there as well?
They will.
Okay, beautiful. All right. Just making sure before I move on, any comments, questions? Mike?
Considering we're hearing, we heard from Claire that there's something happening with the schools there. I'm assuming they're not making them smaller. They're probably, you've got a 10-inch pipe going in there. Is that gonna be adequate for what we think might be planned, rather than having to rip this up again?
It was sized with the future expansion in mind.
Good question. All righty. Everybody all set here?
Yeah. I'm just looking at it looks like we're gonna get further away from involving ourselves with the endangered species zone through there, if that's the case, right?
I assume so, but I haven't seen the mapping of the species, so I can't.
That is in the yellow here. It's approximate
Oh, is
based
that
on
what that is?
GIS.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the yellow.
Okay,
That's why we're kind of trying to stub off for the future to get out of that area,
got it.
so.
All right.
And I think in some cases, we're not allowed to really say where the endangered species are publicly.
Yep.
But if we knew that, then what you're proposing, I think, is probably better, in my opinion.
Okay.
So,
All right. Well, if that's it, I'll open up to any comments, questions, concerns from the audience. No? Oh, sir.
I have a question. Lake Valley, 21 Pine Road.
Thank you.
I'm also on the board of the Lake Samoset.
Uh-huh.
So the pipe that's coming down, you're proposing a new pipe, a bigger pipe. Is that tying into a existing clay pipe as well? So that's all clay?
Yes.
It all runs along the brook that feeds our lake, so that's my concern,
Yeah.
right? So are you gonna be putting additional stresses on that old clay pipe, like that we should be concerned about? Like you can have two into one, and it's a bigger pipe, and it's gonna, you said multiple junctions into the existing pipe along the brook that feeds the lake. Is there any concerns there that we should be thinking about?
Not that I know of.
And if I could add again, Frank Holmes from Langen, tying into actually not a clay pipe, but into a concrete manhole. So we're gonna be coring into the manhole.
Also, the manhole is
connecting
attached to the clay pipe.
the new pipe to that, so we actually won't be touching the clay pipe that is gonna remain.
Good question, thank you, Mike. Anybody else? No? Okay. All right, good, so obviously we need to continue this because there's no DEP number. So I'll entertain a motion then to continue the hearing. We'll try again April 8th, 2025 and see what happens.
I'd like to make that motion.
Thank you, Bob. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. And for votes, Bob?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Chuck?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
for coming out.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Hopefully see you in a couple of weeks.
Could I just grab that USB?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
No, you have to leave it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're holding it hostage.
Thanks, Maggie.
All right. All right, moving on. Go ahead and read this one into the record. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing for a request for a determination of applicability, or RDA, filed by Courtney Walker, Mass DOT, represented by Susan MacArthur, Jacobs Engineering, for the proposed reconstruction of an existing deteriorated retaining wall, as well as sidewalk and roadway repairs on Lancaster Street in Leominster, Massachusetts. Address: Lancaster Street, Leominster, Massachusetts. Map and parcel NA. Right-of-way, Lancaster Street, Route 117. Oh, hello. See you sit down. Hi, introduce yourselves, please.
Yeah, I'm Courtney Walker, environmental analyst at MassDOT.
Okay.
Susan MacArthur, Jacobs
Okay.
Engineering.
And just to make sure, anybody in the audience that's here, that's interested in RDA, simply is a way for us to determine if there truly are any jurisdictional wetlands associated with this project. And if so, then if we do determine that there are, then we get to go forward with the next step, which is NOI, but we're here to determine our next step. So, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Could you scroll, if you
Yeah.
scroll to the back, that's where the plan is, I just kind of kept it all together.
Yeah, no, of course.
One,
Maybe one up.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then just kind of zoom in a little.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, laser pointer would definitely be helpful.
Yeah, not squinting.
Yeah.
Okay. So we filed this request for determination of applicability for the reconstruction of a retaining wall, as well as a portion of sidewalk and curbing and a little bit of roadway. The wetland isn't shown on here, but the buffer zones are. So there is Fall Brook, again, perennial stream, which is shown, it's off to the right, so off the project limits, but
Oh,
yeah, it's like,
Way-
it's even further off, like,
Yeah. I
yeah,
don't
it's
even know
like,
if you can-
so
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
this is 100 feet from the,
yeah,
Okay,
from the
then-
bank of the stream and then another 100.
so obviously the river must go like this.
It does,
It does.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. So as a result of the 2023 flooding event in Leominster, that wall kind of blew out, if you will. It's a stone masonry wall, and if, I'm sorry, your name?
Yes, Jesse.
Oh, Jesse, could you scroll up? I have some photos that I
I
can.
was gonna ask.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Photos say so
yeah,
much
photos
more
say
than
a lot.
that.
Yes.
Right,
Right
just a
about
little
that.
bit more, I have more pictures up, keep going.
Yes.
Okay, so,
There you go.
the,
Before
yeah,
and
the
after.
top one
Right.
is when it was intact, and that's just from Google Maps, Street View, in 2019. But as you can see on the bottom,
So-
that's what it is
So this
today.
area is up in there somewhere?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like in the middle, so it's
Okay.
like, so they're gonna reconstruct the entire wall, is gonna be, same thing, stone masonry. But as you can see, the sidewalk is, see on the bottom photo, sidewalk's kind of blown out, the, little bit of the roadway is like chunked out there. So they're going to.
Quick question, I'm sorry, I'm a little
Yeah.
confused. Who's the applicant? Is it Mass DOT?
Mass DOT,
Yeah, okay.
yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry about that. Yeah, and so they're going to reconstruct a portion of the sidewalk in front of that wall, reconstruct the wall, put back some fill on the back side of the wall that kind of sloughed off, and granite curbing, And then if you scroll a little bit down to the next photo,
Mm-hmm.
so right kind of near that utility pole on the top photo, we are proposing, well, it's a little bit closer, a ramp, a handicap ramp that kind of will connect to that sidewalk, and also a deep sump catch basin, which will take runoff from Melbourne Street and Lancaster Street. But the bottom photo is Fallbrook, and it actually, the roadway in front of Fallbrook there is a higher elevation than the work, which is, you know, within the 200
right?
riverfront area. So there's absolutely no way that any, my point being, no way that any sediment can flow toward the brook, because everything's flowing the other way. So that pretty much sums it up. So the work is within the outer 100 feet of the 200-foot riverfront area, approximately 1,942 square feet of temporary impacts are being proposed. And it's all within existing disturbed area or degraded area, meaning.
Mhm.
And as far as compliance with riverfront area regs, you could say that the repaving is an exempt activity under 310 CMR 10.02B, as well as 10.58, 6B. And the wall doesn't really fit the exemption, but it's minor in nature, so.
But it doesn't fit the exemption. Who owns the wall?
I'm assuming it's Mass DOT because it's within the state highway layout.
Is it really? It doesn't belong to the property owner there?
It happens. It happens.
I
It
think
could,
it's-
but
It's a
do
different-
you
when
know
it's-
this with DOT?
I thought it was DOT's within, I don't know, do you know?
Positive about the wall.
But that is a good question, though, if it's a private wall on Mass DOT land, should the applicant be the landowner?
Or both?
Or both, yeah.
A separate issue from us, but who's paying for that? But that's not in our jurisdiction. But I'm personally curious.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's within the state highway layout and it's Mass DOT. Just FYI, there is a design public hearing on April 1st for this project as well as 3 other locations in Leominster that will be discussed, so.
Discussed with which body, you're saying?
Mass DOT with TEC and Jacobs.
TEC being,
They're an engineering company, design, yep.
I'm still on my acronym.
I get to, don't ask me what they stand for.
That's okay.
Yep.
Hmm.
But it will be held in City Hall, I believe.
Okay. Super. Thoughts? Commission, anybody? I don't have any. Yes, Rich?
I've been by there. I see no impact on the resource. If it's within our jurisdiction, it would be a -2 determination. The only thing that tickled me was being reminded of the exemption in CMR 1005 of abutters not being notified because of the DOT project. I would encourage DOT to notify abutters, even if it's not required by law.
Well, this is an
That's just me.
RDA, I mean, unless that's under the
Yeah.
local bylaw,
Yeah, there is no local
Well, I'm
bylaw.
saying
Okay.
it's not required.
it's not
I just think
required.
it's a good thing to do, instead of doing the minimum
Well,
required by law.
It makes
So-
it into the newspaper, so, I mean, if somebody came here, you know, read the paper
Yeah.
and saw that it was advertised.
People don't read the paper like they used to miss. But anyways, I encourage
Yeah.
us to
Yeah,
go
that's
that route.
a good point. I would say pass on the comment to your client, the DOT, and just say, listen, you might want to, it might be a good, even though they're not required to, send out 1, 2, 3, 4, however many butters there are, just let them know. Again, they're not required to, but going beyond the bare minimum is always appreciated.
Just one person's opinion.
Correct, yeah.
Very
No authority behind that, but anyway.
Anybody, any other thoughts on the commission? No? All right.
I'm still confused. Who owns the wall?
Well, it doesn't matter. It's, Bob, for the sake of what's in front of us tonight, it doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
That's DOT. If DOT starts doing work on somebody's own wall, somebody's private wall, and they come out and say, what the hell are you doing?
I'm sure that
It's
DOT right of way has contacted the
If it
6
was-
Melbourne Street.
Yeah, if
folks.
it was somebody
Yeah.
else's property, we would be, acquiring the proper easements to do the work.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not something
It's
to
kind of
chase.
a win-win too. It's not,
Upstairs.
if anything, these pictures don't even do it justice. It looks a lot worse when you actually go over there.
It's,
Hey,
it's a retaining wall fell on the sidewalk.
Yeah, it's not
The-
even
the
worth.
Homeowner
Can't
gets
really
a,
see anybody getting upset for
Yeah.
replacing the wall.
homeowner gets a nice
Making it
new
look
wall for
They'll
the
get a
house.
nice new wall.
Right,
So-
improving.
Sidewalks blocked, I just,
The sidewalk, new sidewalks too, yeah.
Handicap
Part of my-
accessible.
Yeah.
question is the legality of authorizing, if it was somebody else's property.
That's a good
We'll just
point.
assume it's not.
Yeah.
But we don't have the legal authority to authorize the work if it belongs to somebody else. We had that case on North Street where somebody did work on somebody else's property,
Yeah.
remember, so.
Is this in the right of way? This is in the right of way, however, yes.
Yeah, that's
I
not
don't
right.
think
Yeah,
so.
yeah. And again, it's an RDA, when we can't, we're not conditioning anything, we just, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, assuming we're all set, Jesse, what do you have for recommendation?
So-
Oh, for an RDA?
Yep.
Oh, okay, sorry,
Yeah.
never mind. Moving on, I didn't think we had to for an RDA, but going beyond the minimum, we'll certainly do that.
Absolutely.
Does anybody in the audience has any questions, comments, concerns about this project? No?
Okay.
Okay, moving on then. Thank
So,
you. Go
I
ahead,
was
Jesse.
gonna recommend the -3, because that had the language where, I don't think this project has any potential to adversely impact the river. But it is technically within that, it's about 150 feet into that riverfront area, so I think technically it is, under the jurisdiction, but there's no,
We've
No
been
way
doing
that's
those
going
as
to-
-2 for the last 3.5 years.
that's interesting. Yeah, we were looking at that before the meeting. I mean,
Were you?
Yeah, I was stopping in his office at 5:30 to go over the agenda.
Good, good.
So we're going over the negative determination form.
So we're being corrected?
Looks like it, yes. Yep. But bottom line is, it is a negative determination, which, so.
Works.
that's my
So,
recommendation.
so you said -3?
-3.
Okay.
Yes.
Then I will then entertain a motion for a -3 determination on this project as described by the representatives of the applicant.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Rich. Is there a second?
I can second that.
Thank you, Bob.
Great, thank you very much.
Hold on, let us finish voting before.
Oh,
we vote.
sorry.
You never know what might happen.
You never know.
Dinner plans or what?
All right, for the roll call, Bob,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
Chuck.
Aye.
All right.
Now you may
Now I
leave if you
can
like.
say it. Thank you
-3.
very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for
Have a
coming
good night.
by.
Thanks for
Okay,
coming.
Thank you, Sue and Courtney.
You're-
You remembering names. I didn't even write it down. Thank you.
He said he
I was too
has-
busy writing it down
He
to
has-
let it register.
Bobby Haskell.
All right,
You're looking lovely today, Mrs. Slater.
moving on, under continued hearings. I'll read into the record. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing for a notice of intent filed by the New England Power Company, represented by BSC Group, for general maintenance and improvement along the A1/B2 line right-of-way. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Work will occur within the existing right-of-way and will include structure maintenance, removals and replacements, access improvements and construction, and vegetative conversion. We do have a number, DEP number 199-1209. Teresa, introduce yourself, please.
Good evening, my name is Teresa Portante with BSC Group, representing New England Power. So I think you guys just got passed around,
They've got the letter.
We
letter?
did, looking at it now.
okay? The other update was that, in regards to the comments that DEP issued, we've confirmed all of the off-right of way.
I'm sorry, I was reading this, you said, the DEP comments that you took?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So we had DEP comments, there were two, just confirming that, if any off right-of-way access, if easements weren't in place, that the landowners have the opportunity to sign all of those agreements are already in place, so
Okay.
it's not necessary for them to sign. And then he also pointed out on the plan, there was a comment calling for a stone ford, and rightly so, he was asking, what's the resource area in this area? And I spoke to the engineers, and that was a typo on the call out. It's a stone filter, and so we submitted a revision to the plan.
All
There's
right.
no ford, there's no stream there.
That's a difference.
Yes, exactly. So we've filed that, sent that to Jesse and DEP today. And then the additional information that you have
That's this, okay.
is the letter from Heritage.
Yep.
They also shared with you the letter that was issued for the project as a whole, which I had described to you all that we will be obtaining and pursuing a CMP for the project overall,
And that again was,
a conservation management
thank you.
plan. Because the project overall it was determined that there would be a take, and in the letter it identifies the 2 species that Heritage has determined there would be a take for, which is a wood turtle and sand mallet. But in the letter that they issued to you relative to wetland habitat under the review of the NOI, they are not, there's no adverse impact to wetland habitat. Yes?
I'm sorry, what was the second species? I was familiar with the wood turtle.
Sand plain violet,
Okay.
which is a plant.
Yeah, small flowering plant,
And this, again, this is for the whole
the whole project.
overall project. Yeah.
You all set?
Yeah.
Okay, and just make sure, I just, for our own edification, the letter does state that according to the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife, that as currently proposed, the project will not adversely affect the actual resource area habitat of state protected rare wetland wildlife species, but that this addresses only the matter of rare wetland wildlife habitat, and does not pertain to other wildlife habitat issues that may be pertinent to the proposed project. I just want to make sure that was read. The only other thing that I personally would continue to recommend is, and this is not within our purview, but just continue to stay in touch with the people that were here last time, the earlies, in terms of access to the property. So just
We did?
Yeah, I would
Sure,
the
just
commission like to know our conversation?
Please, yeah.
Just for-
Yes.
Sure.
So I sat with them, I showed them where their property is relative to the project right of way. They actually live under a different transmission line.
Oh,
Yes.
so it's not even associated with us.
No, but they
Boom.
were still noticed because they're within 100 feet.
Well, thank you for doing that. That was very appreciated.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
Yeah,
And Jesse spent some time too, so.
Yeah, they
I
spoke very,
actually
very
ran into
kindly
Mr.
to me.
Early
Oh,
in
they were
Lowe's.
so-
Did you really?
They're
He
funny.
was
They're very,
thrilled.
very
He was
nice.
tickled pink.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they were lovely.
Good, because
It made me sleep better.
Okay.
even though there were no wetlands, we still want to,
Yes,
Helpful.
yeah.
correct, yeah. All right, super. Thank you for doing that.
You're
That's very
welcome.
appreciated.
Both of you.
All right. Anybody in the commission, thoughts, comments, questions? Nick?
So, can you clarify the ruling here by Fish and Wildlife? Is this to say that the conservation management plan does not apply to any
No.
wetlands areas?
Not to the wetland areas,
So
yeah.
it's not within our purview?
It is not within the estimated habitat areas that are within the project area
Okay,
in Leominster. Yeah.
Second.
yes.
Anybody else?
I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, no worries.
We don't control the whole project, just the ones near the wetland.
Just the-
Correct, exactly, right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's no.
Do we have influence on this? You use the word
Influence,
control.
that's a better way to.
There you go. All right.
Quick correction.
All right, so if no other comments from the commission, there's nobody here in the audience, I'll entertain a motion then to, well, sorry, no, Jesse, take it back.
I mean, I'm comfortable with issuing an order of conditions with the standard conditions.
Were there any special ones that
I
we?
would recommend adding our special conditions
Yeah.
that go with ones. This is a big project.
Yeah,
We usually leave those out if somebody's cutting down a single tree on their yard.
Okay.
Not with heavy equipment and everything else. That's where we have mentions of, has waste and fuel oils, and
Mhm.
it's only a page and a quarter.
yeah, it used to be 6 pages, so you're welcome.
Yeah, I remember you guys mentioning you
So-
trimmed the
so-
fat off
and
of it.
You know where those are to attach it to the.
I'm sure that I can track them
Okay,
down.
if
I
not,
didn't see that.
if not, I don't know where they're
I've sent
stored.
it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, or that, or
Rich has multiple copies of
And-
this.
and then
or
there was-
Nick knows where they are too.
There would be no added ones to that special conditions section.
Right,
Okay.
right.
I did just, if I may just add
Please.
one thing, we spoke earlier that, the wetland replication area,
Mhm.
that plan is not finalized, but if the commission could, we could close, we could issue the order with the understanding, and you could put a condition in there, that that updated plan, you know, would be
Will go into the
provided.
record.
Yeah.
Okay, can you
Yes,
make note of that?
yeah,
Jim?
absolutely.
So that would be the one special
Yeah.
added to the special.
Right. One additional special condition, as mentioned by the applicant, you know.
Mhm.
All right, then, based on that, and based on Jesse's recommendation, I'll then, oh, Bob.
Yeah, I still got the fueling question. On page 18, section 6.2.3, only because of the closeness to Middletown and the other end, the other reservoir on the other end, that
Fallbrook.
Fallbrook, it says that they're going to go 100 feet out of the area to refuel, and that spill equipment will be there.
Yes.
And it's nice to see, but I'm just afraid that, is it really going to happen, and who's the coordinator with that?
Yeah, so part of the compliance oversight that is done for the projects is part of the inspections that are done is to check the equipment and make sure that they have spill and control kits on site. So that is monitored and reported on internally by the environmental consultant that supports the overview of the construction.
So there will be an environmental consultant, obviously, that will check that. 'Cause
Yes.
that's just ultimate concern with me with how precious this source is for the city, that I don't want to see it, oops,
Yep.
go on, you know, that's all.
Yeah.
I'm good, Chuck.
Okay, thank you, Bob. All right then, so I will then entertain a motion then to approve the NOI as described by the applicant, with their general conditions and the special conditions and the one added special condition to that we talked about.
Yes.
It works for a description, right?
That works for
Yeah,
me.
okay. So I'll entertain that motion.
You wanna close the public?
Oh, yeah,
Close the
yeah,
public
Thank you.
hearing.
yeah. We'll do that first. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing portion of the project. Thank you, Rich. Second. Is there a second?
Second, yeah.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you. Almost forgot that,
Yeah, that's good to do.
yeah.
Oh. All right,
We're all
for the
looking
roll
at you.
call, Bob,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and Chuck.
Aye.
All right.
All right. Sorry about that oversight. Moving on then. So I'll now entertain a motion to approve the project as described by the applicant with our general conditions, special conditions, and then the one added special condition that we described.
I will make the motion.
Thank you, Michael. Is there a second?
I can second that.
Thank you, Bob.
And on that vote, Nick,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and Chuck.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Teresa. Good luck.
Thank you for coming.
And if you could kindly mail the order
Yes.
to my office and not National Grid.
Yes, mail it to your office.
Thank
Where it
you.
will be lost forever.
That is exactly the problem.
Yeah, I'm sure that is a
That's
problem.
The National Grid black hole?
Yes,
All
that's
right.
right, that's right.
Ideal.
Thank you
It
very much.
it helps to know
Thank
your
you.
client.
Nice working with you.
Thank you, you too.
That was a really good proposal. and-
Yeah.
Can you get my street light fixed in front of my house?
Fair.
All right, moving on, under,
Fix mine, so.
Okay, the hearing's over, we're on to something else,
Yep.
guys.
under enforcement, the first one, 76 Weather Vane Drive, discussion. I met Bob out there last week, we walked around the property, we did see we knocked on the door, homeowner wasn't there, but they pulled on the driveway as we were walking out. I didn't have the plans in front of me, but I didn't see where this tree cutting was going on, but we did see that chicken coop. Looks to me in high water conditions that it is in the wetland.
You saw the big trees cut, right?
Yeah, I saw some stumps, yeah.
Mhm.
So are those the ones those are the ones in, I assume, then in question?
Well, they were big lots.
Yeah, they were very large.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
12-foot
And they're
long,
fresh.
Yeah.
Fairly fresh.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, obviously what stuck out to Bob and me was the chicken coop, again. Looks to me, I don't have the wetland delineation, but looks to me literally in the wetland.
Yes, I would agree with that.
So, I don't know, any other discussion, thoughts?
Well, I don't like that.
Yeah, yeah, no,
To be consistent,
we've had two other
I
chicken
agree.
coops in front of us, and we,
if they can flood I'm concerned about them.
Yeah.
Now, you could be within the bordering, the border, or 100 feet, and be uphill, and that wouldn't bother me as much. But I am concerned with the chance of flood, and the creek or drainage came right up to the property line.
Right.
Yes.
It wasn't as close as a couple of the others, it was really close. I'm concerned about the big trees taken down. We have a case with, the next one coming up in our agenda, Mechanic Street, where this commission had somebody spend a fair amount of money to repopulate the trees in that area. And I wonder what kind of consistency we'll have with this case, given it was clear cut, basically, or something along those lines. Things were, what do we, anyways, be prepared for the next one to ask about this one. Not all cases need to be identical, but,
Right.
what's their purpose, and it might be different, and so, that's my thoughts.
Do we know how much and what was cut down? Like,
From
I'm
what I
thinking,
could gather, it looked like either 2 or 3, large mature trees that have been cut down.
do we know what kind of trees by any chance?
I think that they were pines.
Pines, okay.
Yeah. I pull up the pictures right now, but my Wi-Fi is
Oh, don't worry about it.
not working in this room again.
They were
I'll make sure I get that straightened out for the next
So-
meeting.
They were
Really
pines,
big.
but they were big.
Okay,
They were-
so
yeah,
they're
they
white
were
pines,
large.
okay.
And then the other ones had kind of been, even the one that was standing that had that cable had been topped, and, a lot had been,
Okay.
yeah, not great cutting.
Seems to me,
practices.
what are your thoughts about having them move the chicken coop up to the side of the house? Up, basically up slope, because you gotta walk down the slope to get to the current chicken coop. Or are we thinking
I could
remove
see
it or put it up to the side of the house where there's no shade?
I guess we're thinking, some of us at least, that it shouldn't be where it is, and it's up to them to propose something.
Okay,
think that's fair, yeah.
that's fair. Instead of engineering the project for
As
them.
happened with, what, Chusett Street, was it?
Yeah,
Washington
Chusett Street
Yes.
and,
Yes.
yeah, okay. And the trees would, obviously, they can't replace in kind, that size, but replace with 3 6 to 8 foot tall pine trees?
Do we want pines, or do we want something else?
Just replace the same ones.
Okay.
I have no problem with white pines.
Could be.
What's the existing wetland delineation?
I don't think there has been one, has there?
Yeah, there hasn't been one professionally done there. It is, if you look at the National Wetlands Inventory, their GIS layer, they have it all mapped out. And then there's a perennial stream that was my main concern, was the bordering vegetated wetland there is connected to that stream. And then that looked like it came from, it starts up at Brooks Pond, and then it carries down to something called Lower Otter Pond, which is, not that this is really in our purview, but it's, like a swimming area. And so if you have animal waste that's connected to that system, and then it's getting into the stream, it's all
Okay.
sharing, so it's.
No, that's
not good.
That's come up in discussions
More
before,
reason.
on both
Yeah.
the other chicken coops.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, as far as the chicken coop, like the trees, obviously, it's not good that they cut them. I do think there's a slight difference between, a clear cut, which is, a clear cut of, a large area as far as the Mechanic Street thing. But, yeah, I think replacing the trees that they cut with it being, whether it was 3 or 4 or whatever it is,
Yeah.
I can figure it out, and I think that's
Yeah.
reasonable.
And then to have them come back to us with a plan, either to remove or move the chicken coop.
Mhm.
Yeah, that gets it out of our jurisdiction
Yeah.
preferably.
Yeah,
They'd have to
and
measure.
prove that it's not gonna be,
Well, in that case,
getting into that system.
then you do need to delineate the wetland. Right now, I don't feel we need to, because it's right there.
Right.
Yeah, it's on top of it,
Yeah, the stream is right at the edge of it.
Right,
Yeah, it's very
So
evident.
200 feet and the whole property's
Okay.
within.
Yeah, and that's not even
Streams are-
accounting
It's
for.
the
like,
riverfront, the whole property's within the riverfront area.
oh, God, yeah.
It
And
is.
probably within the wetland zone area.
You're probably with the
Yeah.
wetland, is it, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Probably within the wetland.
100 feet and it's part of the
Mhm.
property.
Right.
Okay.
And I
The
wonder
wetland-
what's
The wetland
been,
buffer, you're saying, or the wetland itself?
Should it be delineated?
the buffer, would certainly
We-
all in
we-
the
we-
buffer,
we-
some in the wetland.
Right, we don't know what the buffer and the wetland boundaries are.
We did take a picture though of the fence, the running fence for the chicken coop
Mhm.
area, and standing water within 10 feet of the edge of the fence.
Yes.
That's-
Yeah.
Well, in that that GIS layer that the National Wetlands Inventory has, which is obviously not, you can't use that for an actual
No.
delineation. You can get an idea.
Yeah,
And that shows that it's even partially, on their parcel.
Okay.
They have the option to hire
well-
someone, we have the option to do our own judgment
Yeah.
in lieu of somebody hiring somebody.
Yeah,
We don't need to hire somebody to do it. To me, that creek, or whatever you wanna call it, the moving water.
perennial stream, yeah.
Perennial stream is, thank you, is right there, right at the edge of it, and thus part of that is wetland. I'm curious what was cut down to set up that chicken coop
That's
Yeah.
a fair
in the whole
question.
backyard,
Yeah,
so who knows?
Could look at the aerials and try to get an idea.
yeah.
That's a
always-
good
They go
idea.
back quite a ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we want Jesse to send them a letter now? Do we need any more information? I think we have enough to send them. So the letter would say either come back to us with a plan to move it based, or, and if they move it, we're gonna need to see a wetlands delineation, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's,
How are we gonna go by anything if we?
Yeah, exactly, right. So, but if they get rid of it, I don't see any need for wetland delineation, but if they wanna
Absolutely.
move it, then we'll need to see a wetland delineation. And then.
And a plan where they're gonna move it to.
Exactly, right.
Yes.
And then, no matter what they do with the chicken coop, they do have to replace those 3 pine trees with, what do we say, 6 to 8 foot tall?
So
White
also,
pines.
secondly,
they
Yeah.
can propose something there
Yeah,
too.
right.
I mean, if they wanted to put in something other than pines.
They could, yeah.
They could replace them
Should I
with
just-
something or propose something else.
How about that? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
okay.
fine. That can work.
Okay, that works.
Fine with me. Nick, do you have something?
it's for Jesse, I was gonna wait till he's finished writing.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
You can only write so fast.
Yeah,
Happens to me all the time.
Alright. And done.
Maybe
What stage of enforcement are we in? Is a violation notice has been issued?
I think that they received a violation notice.
Has an enforcement order been issued?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Not that I could find,
Okay.
which is the same case as Mechanic Street. So I mean,
I thought there was one. I thought there was an enforcement order.
there might have,
Cease and
I'm
desist.
still, I was talking to Nick today, so I'll mention that to him tomorrow when I
Okay.
can get a hold of him. Nick,
I
the
thought-
Well,
prior.
let's
the prior-
cover
I
that
saw-
one when
I
it
thought I
comes
saw
up.
one in the Mechanic Street folder. There's
So
an
we didn't,
enforcement
so in the
order.
Mechanic Street folder, we had essentially the way, well,
Can
actually,
we
if you
hold
can.
mechanic till we get to it,
Yeah,
please?
yeah.
And
Sure.
finish
Because I can
this?
go over the history of, I think we have that wrapped up, so we have the history of that one
Yeah.
at least.
All right.
Yeah.
So we all set with 76
So
Weathervane?
we're in violation.
Yeah.
And
And then, so
object-
you're gonna,
So I'll draft a letter, I'll share that with, I mean, I can share that with
Share with
everyone. I can share
everybody,
that
but
with you
please
guys.
Chuck.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and we'll try to get
I
one out
think we
before
all
the next
need to
meeting.
edit it.
yeah. All right, all right,
Okay,
then,
thank
good.
you.
Moving on, next one, Mechanic Street enforcement order discussion. So I actually, when I was out, last Friday when I was out with Bob on the way home, I actually, I hadn't been by there since Mechanic Street, since they planted those trees, which perfectly fine.
Yeah,
But, so the issue is, please, again, correct me if I'm wrong, the outstanding issue here is they want to sell the property with that basically restoration plan, not part of the purchase and sale, is that right?
Yes.
Was that the issue?
Yes, and they
And-
might have referred to it as an enforcement order, but technically it was approval of a restoration plan.
Right.
Mhm.
So we didn't see anything in the minutes, right? You went through all the.
There, yeah, there was never.
Jesse went through all the minutes, pulled them all out,
Mhm.
for that site.
Yes.
So it's the restoration, that's what was voted on.
Right, right, and this sounds to me like, this is just their attorneys with their knickers in a twist. There's no reason that property can't be sold with a very simple, very easily met restoration plan to make sure that those trees, if they die in the next, year and a half, something like that?
Yeah, it would be June
are
of
replaced.
next year when the final inspection is.
So less than a
completed.
year and a half.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They could hold money in escrow until then, there's different things.
Yeah.
I got the distinct feeling, including looking at the original things written here, there was active clearing, for development. I think it was clear cut for the purpose of selling.
Of course it was.
Of course, yeah. I have to be
I'm
convinced
sorry, did I say that out
otherwise.
loud?
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean,
that's my personal
regardless.
opinion only.
Regardless of what it was cut for, it's very reasonable to, vote on and accept a restoration plan that is contingent on 2 years of monitoring, and to not want to, you want to see the 2 years of monitoring.
Right.
Because
Yeah,
you don't need to give a reason other than we voted on the plan and that was the condition of it.
correct,
So.
I have no desire to make a motion to change that restoration
correct,
plan.
Mhm.
correct.
Anybody else?
There's no reason. Yeah,
Okay, you won't
Yeah.
get a motion, sir.
no,
Yeah, so we'll
okay.
just pull that off the agenda.
Yeah, so,
Give them our answer.
Yeah,
It
I will.
stays
I'll be
as
happy
is.
to, I'll reach out to, I'll try to get the contact info for the landowner and let him know, and I'll let Matt
Guido,
Morrow
thank
know
you.
as well.
Yes,
And
please.
thank him again and compliment him on the nice job done and expensive
You
job
can compliment him
done.
yourself, he's gonna be here for the next
I
meeting.
have done so here,
Yeah.
for
Well,
the
I'll let him know.
restoration,
Yeah.
but he's still on the hook.
Yeah,
alrighty,
sure.
so discussion had. Okay,
Good.
moving on, meeting minutes.
Wait, can I-
Oh,
can I
yep,
ask-
oh, sorry, go
Is
ahead.
there another discussion? I mean, there's obviously something up with that property, this is out of our purview, but is there some way that we can ensure that the new owners understand, if the restoration plan isn't part of the deed in the registry of deeds, is there a way that we can ensure that the new owners understand what they're buying?
What's,
That is, that there are concerns, it's in Nashua River watershed area. Do they understand that? We don't wanna, all of a sudden, somebody walks away and goes like this, and the new owners come in and we're back to square one.
We've done that before.
We've done that.
Hill Street Farm.
yeah,
So can you try to
Yeah.
get this into the record? At the-
Yeah, I'll reach out to Matt. I would imagine that the whole reason that they're asking you guys to do this extra stuff is to basically strike it from the record. So I would imagine that the plan has been recorded, but I can
Yeah, so
definitely get the
I wouldn't
details
assume
on
that it has unless
Yeah.
we put it there.
Yeah, unless we
and I'm
see
not
it
gonna
with a
assume
stamp
that.
on it.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
how it's, I don't know, if it's a lien on the property, or if the restoration plan is attached to the purchase and sale and with the deed.
Mhm.
I'm not quite sure the process that happens, but,
Reality of that.
yeah.
Yeah, you
But
can
yeah,
get the
if you-
details
If
on
you
that.
look into that, and Matt
Yeah.
maybe have some, lot more.
Yeah, I would think he will.
Yeah.
He's organized.
Yes,
so.
he is.
It still transfers to the next owner regardless, but we want
Mhm.
them to know, as
Yeah,
Commissioner Siki said.
yeah,
Yes, yeah, I can
All right.
absolutely do
cool. Hey, I'll start with that, okay.
Yeah.
Meeting minutes, March 11th, 2025. I went in, I looked at those.
I
It was
looked at
yesterday.
them, but we couldn't do the track editing, so we couldn't see what, I couldn't figure that, we couldn't see if
But
anybody
we
made
did
changes.
we could make edits and cross things out and
Yes,
put
we
in comments.
could, but then we couldn't see who had edited something, in case somebody edited it after you saw it.
Oh.
That's true,
So I would rather not approve it until we get that system going.
okay.
I do have hand edits.
That's probably,
Jesse.
that's
Yeah.
fair, that's fair.
But let's
Yeah,
just wait
that's
until
fine.
we can.
it. We're up to date right
So-
now, other than that one meeting, so.
Okay.
Yeah, you're caught up.
Yeah,
do it, Judy.
keep it
You're
rolling,
fine.
keep it rolling.
All right, so we'll touch that
Hold
on
off
that
on
next
that,
meeting?
and
Okay.
We'll work on the web system, the Google Drive.
Yeah, I'll get that figured
So that
out.
we can get the track
Okay.
editing, because I couldn't see it.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Totally.
Waiting for the timers to go by, because I had really important things to say. All right, so meeting minutes is all set. Moving on under commissioner comments, I just have a couple of things that won't take long. Last Thursday, it was Friday afternoon, same afternoon I met Bob. I was invited to a conference call along with Mark Pamerini from DPW with a couple of folks from the National River Watershed Association, and they are a party along with the North Atlantic Aquatic Connectivity Collaborative, or NAACC. Basically, this is an effort to, I'll read very quickly here. As long linear ecosystems, rivers and streams are particularly vulnerable to fragmentation. A number of human activities can disrupt the continuity of river and stream ecosystems. The most familiar human-caused barriers are dams. However, there is growing concern about the role of road crossings, and especially culverts, in altering habitats and disrupting river and stream continuity. A variety of wildlife interests here: fish, salamanders, wood turtles, et cetera, et cetera. In the call, the gentleman from the Watershed Association showed a picture of a culvert, 3 or 4 foot wide culvert under a road. Then it dropped like 5 feet to the stream. That is not a connected stream. So basically, bottom line, the Watershed Association and this collaborative they're on I think it's a 5-town effort Fitchburg, Leominster, Shirley, and then Rutland and someplace else. How they pick those towns, I have no idea. But they want to go through these towns and determine which culverts are of most need, which is where Mark Primarini comes in, of this type of study, and possibly maybe even replace his culverts and replace them with something more appropriate for
Animal crossing.
animal crossings, et cetera, so, yeah, wildlife habitat.
Critter
So, so that's basically all the call was so far.
Mhm.
So I imagine I'll be on more calls going in the future along with Mark, and I think Jesse, you were supposed to be on the call, but you were unavailable, as I recall.
Yeah, I had something,
Yeah,
prior
so-
commitment.
So we'll get more information. I just wanted to let you know that DPW and we are looking at this.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I think it'd be kind of cool.
To that point, Chuck, I
Yeah.
was looking at the delineated resource areas for the, Nehas.
Yep.
And there's one that ends at the boundary with Lancaster, where the North Nashua River crosses under the highway.
190.
190. So to the east, you get this fantastic habitat, and as soon as you get to Leominster, that's gone.
Yeah.
So
What's there?
What's that?
What's in Leominster? Why is it gone?
There's I don't know. There's some developments there. There's a housing development. There's the highway. There's it's not prime habitat effectively to the west of that.
Okay.
So there's the crossing itself, right?
Mhm.
So there's the crossing itself where the one.
Well, this is what we're looking at culverts. That's an actual highway. It's a huge.
Right, but if you're looking for stream connectivity, the North Nashua River is the main drainage for the entire town.
Right.
So if the,
But it seems to me the west side and the east side, regardless of the endangered species classification, they're fully connected under that highway. They're fully connected. There's no disconnected nature.
there's probably a constrained, there's probably a constrained
Okay.
area under the overpass.
Okay, it could be.
There's probably riprap under the overpass.
Okay,
I'm sure that there's loss of habitat in that area.
okay.
And so, I don't know, it's very wide to the east and narrows considerably.
So is there a question you have, or is there something you let us look into? or-
I'm just saying that, that may be one of the reasons why Leominster is of interest for this
Okay.
study for
All right.
stream connectivity.
Okay, all right, good enough. Anybody else, any thoughts, comments? No, okay, like I said, I just wanted to fill you in. As more information comes out, I'll let you know. The other thing for Jesse,
Yes.
I mentioned this to Nick, but I don't think he was here long enough for anything to happen. Try to make a long story short, Pierce Street Conservation Area,
Mm-hmm.
up in North Leominster, right up the street from me.
Yeah, more.
75 acre property, the city ended up buying 50-something of that, and it's now it was originally sold as house lots by the homeowners, but for whatever reason, they even had the sign up, lots for sale.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, something happened, they changed their mind, or I don't know, whatever happened,
Sure.
the city then got a chance to buy it, and the city bought it. They had a nice,
For 57 acres?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because I think the rest is in Lunenburg.
Okay.
But my issue is this sign got destroyed sometime over the winter. Look, somebody hit it.
Mhm.
One side's up, the other side is dented and crushed over this way, and the sign
Okay.
itself is gone.
Sure.
I would see what you can find out about how we can get that street sign replaced.
Okay. What did the street sign actually say?
It was a big, like,
Pierce Street
4x4
Conservation Area?
nice big blue sign, no, white sign, anyway, Pierce Street Conservation Area. If you could also add this, it said, project, I think it's some project courtesy of Mayor Mazzarella, the city council, or somebody else.
Mhm.
See if you can add us to that, because I signed the friggin' paperwork for that. I would love to
Fair
see the
enough.
Conservation Commission mentioned on that.
Yes, absolutely.
So you're gonna replace the whole thing, it's not gonna make a big difference adding another 15 or 20
Want your
letters to
name
it.
personally in it, or?
Well, yeah, but that's not gonna happen. But I'd love to see the Conservation Commission
Dedicated
being
to
thanked for that.
Chairman Chuck.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
Leominster Trail Stewards has a hike coming up there. I think it's in April.
Okay,
I'd have
cool.
to check the calendar.
That's fun.
on that, but yeah, to show off the
Yeah.
new trails that were put there during a service day
Yeah,
Mhm.
about a year ago.
yeah, some A lot of people did, unfortunately, I wasn't one of them, I wasn't there.
I would,
But yeah,
Very
a lot
nice.
of people did some really nice work there. So that's it, so basically,
Yeah.
see if they can replace that
Yeah,
sign and
something to
add
check
conservation
into.
commission to it.
Yeah.
That's it. Oh, so, anyway, back to the agenda, sorry. We are not done. Request for certificate of compliance, 347 Day Street, DP number 199-366.
Yes. So I don't know if anyone took a look at it. This is, and I don't know if you've had similar circumstances. It's a order of conditions from 1990.
I saw that much and stopped.
Yeah. Which is fair enough.
Literally,
It's-
stopped reading it.
35 years ago, so you know, how much are you really going to be able to? I couldn't track down a copy of the order. It got a partial certification back in the 90s as well, and it had a comment about the grading plan that was submitted was not followed exactly. Basically, the site was stable. I went out there. It was
Oh,
a
you did good.
yeah.
It
It's
look,
a
it
nice.
still looks stable?
It looks very stable. It's a nice, clean, regular yard.
Okay.
Not that this has an impact on, you know, I wouldn't see any issue with issuing a certificate of compliance. I don't think that there's
So
any
you
problems
didn't see
there.
any violation when you went there?
I thought it was one of the cleanest resource areas that's in someone's backyard that I've seen so far.
Well, let's get
Perfect.
this
That one is
monkey
it.
off their back.
Yeah.
Then I will
It's a
entertain a
good
motion.
report card right there.
Yes.
Entertain,
It's very nice.
entertain a motion to approve the certificate
I'm
of
sorry, do you have
compliance.
something there?
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh.
who keeps the records for this region? Who, at Mass DEP, who do you go to? I mean, so if it's from 1990, they got
Yeah.
a paper file,
Mhm.
it's in somebody's file cabinet in Worcester or something.
Yeah.
Microfiche.
Who's
Well, it would be, I
who's
think
your
that,
contact?
I think the regional circuit rider for
Yeah.
Central right
Yeah,
now
Mia.
is, what?
Mia?
It was Mia. Mia moved,
Oh, did she?
I think, up the ladder, and now I believe it's Brianna Weigel, who I've talked to about a couple different situations that haven't made it to the agenda yet. It's either her or it might be Kimberly Roth. She's someone that I've spoken to at DEP. She actually serves on the Sterling Commission. But they're both very good resources. It's just, you know, they have the entirety of the central region. It's
Right.
it's-
Was-
We
was-
want them
was that-
hunting
was that
this-
question
We want
for-
them wasting time hunting this
Was
stuff
that question
down
for
from
curiosity, or
35
or
years ago.
what was
when
the
we
question
need
for?
NOI numbers.
I'm just,
I
I'm just,
as well.
so, cause
But
I looked at the DEP website for for an NOI.
Oh, okay.
Mass DEP website, they didn't have anything,
Yeah.
which is to say if it's from 1990, it's in a filing cabinet somewhere.
I'm
That's
sure it
why,
is.
that's why it wasn't
Yeah.
online. So that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can find at least, I know that
You'd
the,
have to ask
yeah,
the
it's,
regional office,
Right.
right?
yeah, yeah.
But
I
you
know
don't
you
see
can at least
any-
find the numbers and a little bit of info, like who filed it, you know, the applicant name and stuff like that, going back to 92. If you can download it all by town, and then it goes into a nice little Excel sheet.
Just so, because we're here for an hour and 40 minutes already,
Yeah,
just
fair.
moving on, so you're confident that you know the person to talk to about getting this thing done?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
all right. So then I'll entertain a motion then to approve the certificate of compliance for 347 Day Street from 1990, DEP number 199-366.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you,
I
Richard.
will second that immediately, not sooner.
All right.
Jesse's really happy with this one.
I am, they're closing in 2 days. And
Yeah.
Okay.
that's always when you realize.
Well,
you
that's-
gotta sell
that's-
your
yeah,
home, and
yeah.
then, you know.
So we just need the roll call. So the-
Yes, of course. Bob,
Aye.
Nick, Mike,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and Chuck.
Aye.
All right, great.
All right, so moving on, next meetings, next one is April 8th, 2025. The filing deadline was last Friday, March 21st, 2025 at noon. The following meeting will be April 22nd, 2025, April 22nd, 2025. Filing deadline is a week from Friday, April 4th, 2025 at noon. I will not be here for that one.
April 22nd.
April 22nd, I will not be here for that one. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Please, I'll do that.
Thank you, Bob. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And for the call, Bob,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and Chuck.
Aye.
There
All
we have
right,
it.
thanks, everybody.
7:40.